Hello there. So I don't know about you, but when I want to learn a new skill, maybe I'm trying to avoid paying for an expensive tradesman to come and do something for me, I turn to YouTube, watch a tutorial on it, try and get myself up to speed and do it myself. So when somebody really badly scratched my lovely new car, I decided to look at YouTube videos on how to fix deep scratches. I followed those tutorials and the results, they're not great, and that's the understatement of the century. So in this video I'm going to show you how not to fix a scratch on your car and how to actually fix a scratch on your car. So I've got a Mazda 6, I bought it January 2020, wasn't brand new actually, it was second hand, but in pretty good condition. And then about a month ago I was putting something in the boot of my car and happened to walk past the rear passenger side door and think, what's that on the door? Rubbed it with my finger and found the worst scratch I've ever had on a car in my history of car ownership. Thank you very much. Several things run through your mind at that point. How did this happen? Haven't actually gone to any car parks and things for a year, so it can only have happened at the odd time I've had to go into work or outside my parents' home, somebody walking past. I don't know, somebody with a pushchair, kid on a bicycle, who knows? But you start, thinking, who can I blame for this? Ultimately, there's no point in blaming anyone, just relax and then concentrate on the next problem, which is how am I going to have this fixed and how much is it going to cost? So this scratch, and I don't know if you can tell from the videos, but it's a very long scratch, and crucially it is a deep scratch. So whereas some scratches you can rub your hands over them and you basically can't feel anything, with this I could literally put my nail in one end of the scratch and move it all the way down the length of it. Beautiful, quite impressive. Again, just to go back on what I've just said, moaning for a moment, how do you scratch somebody's car that deeply by walking past it? Anyway, so I didn't start off on the cheap route actually. I tried to phone a company called Chips Away, which are a company that specialise in repairing small dents and scratches. Having had a look at some pictures on their website, seems like they do quite a good job. Obviously perhaps a little bit dependent on the particular operative that you get to come and do your car. So I gave them a call thinking that they might be able to help. The guy was very honest. Because of where the scratch was, i.e. in the middle of the door on my car, it is not something that they would be able to do a small repair on, because when they usually do their repairs, they do them in areas where there are curves or distinct edges so that you can't tell where they've had to blend in the paint. If you do it in the middle of the door, you're much more likely to be able to see it, which basically meant it was going to cost a lot more to have this fixed. So that's why I then turned to the wonders of YouTube for some tutorial videos. And my word, there is some rubbish out there. There are some things I didn't try. I didn't try the old WD-40 trick because, and here's a spoiler for you, I don't think it works. Anyway, I thought, well, before I go down the kind of nuclear route and call somebody to have my door resprayed, I thought I'll try one particular tutorial that I found. So I found a fantastic video using a product called the 3M scratch removal system. I mean, that sounds like it should do what I want, right? I mean, I've got a scratch and I want to remove it. Thus, the scratch removal system should be exactly what I need. So I liked this because there was a tool, you had to use a drill with it, not just a magic cream that you rub on your car and magically the scratch goes. But the thing that really sold it for me was that this guy actually masks an area of his black car, gets a key out and properly gouges into the door of his car. He actually gouges the word scratch into the door. If he can make this invisible, then surely I can make my scratch invisible. At the end of it, he shows the scratches side by side, the untreated and the treated, and this deep scratch on his car has completely vanished. Absolutely extraordinary. So I thought I've got to give this a go for myself. Now, it was extremely hard to get hold of this scratch removal system, but I did find it somewhere for about £20. Quite a nice looking little set, really, with lots of creams and things and attachments for your drill and the sandpaper. Felt like quite good value for money, even more so if it actually worked. So one of the first steps is to spray the car in water. Just make sure it's perfectly well watered and lubricated. Get your 2000 grit sandpaper along the line. Don't sandpaper on the same area for more than a few seconds, and make sure everything's wet. So I did that. Eventually you will see a sort of haze and the scratch should disappear. So I carried on, and in some areas it looked rather like the scratch had disappeared and that haze had appeared. So I thought, well, I'll carry on. So I carried on until there was a haze over the entire scratch on the car. But then it kind of dawned on me, is this a haze, or have I just sandpapered off the paint? Anyway, I followed the instructions further. I got my drill thing out and I drill thingied the cream all over the car. It made no difference. There's still a horrible white haze over where the scratch was. And by this point, I'd also noticed that not only have I now got a white line as if somebody has taken a great big white marker pen and drawn it down the side of my car, but I've got the added benefit that I can still see the scratch. Fantastic. So then I used the sort of buffing compound thing as well, and by this time I think I had lost quite a lot of enthusiasm when I realised that not only had it not worked, had it not removed the scratch, but it probably made it arguably 10 times worse. Yes, I probably sanded the paintwork too much, although I feel like I followed the instructions really to the letter. Perhaps this is why this particular 3M removal system isn't really that widely available in the UK, because it's really quite easy to do quite a lot of serious damage to your vehicle. Another thing I found reading in forums online is that Mazda paint, because I've got a Mazda car, is notoriously thin. It was just too easy to sand off the top coat of paint. Now, at this point, I could have then gone to a proper car respraying place, but no, I thought I will try one more thing, because I found another tutorial video online. I watched a number of videos where people used special car filler in deep scratches on their cars, sanded it back, and then they just used spray cans that are designed to match the paintwork on your car, and they used a lacquer coat as well, and they ended up with a fantastic finish. And I thought, well, at least I can make it look better than a great big white stripe down the side of my car. So I found a website that matched the Sonic Silver paint colour of my car. Read the reviews, seemed like quite a legitimate company. A few days later, a spray can and lacquer spray can arrived in the post, and having watched one of these videos, I set to work. It's a metallic coat paint, and I wanted to make sure that all the metally bits were evenly distributed inside the can, and then I set to work spraying my lovely scratch, and yeah, didn't go super well. When I started spraying it, rather than spraying actually at the scratch, the spray went upwards all over the window and the door handle. Then I had to frantically wipe those areas to get the paint off, and just left a sort of ugly smudge in those areas instead. And then I had to think, well, why is it doing this? So I sort of try again, and then I kind of got it to go along the scratch, and yeah, the finish didn't look too bad. The only slight problem at that point, and really, you know, it's a very slight problem, is it really worth worrying about, is that the colour is completely wrong. It's nothing like the Sonic Silver on my car. I haven't put the lacquer coat on. I was left at that point with overspray, or whatever it's called, all over the rear tinted windows of my car and over various areas of trim on the back of the car. And at that point, which perhaps is a little bit late in the game, I thought it was better to cut my losses. Okay, the weather was wrong, it was quite windy, that's probably a significant part of it as well. I wouldn't attempt this ever again. And all I will say to you is, unless you want your car to look worse than the original scratch, just ignore all those how to fix scratches on your car thing. If you've got a light scratch, go and buy some T-cut and you might be able to get it out. But if you've got a scratch that you can feel with your finger, you need to do what I'm going to do now, which is ring a paint shop, bite the bullet, pay the whatever it's going to cost me, 200 to 300 quid to have this door resprayed because somebody can't walk past the car without scratching it. Thank you, mysterious person. Anyway, I thought you'd enjoy seeing the mess I made, and if you've got a scratch on your car that you're trying to remove, I thought you might appreciate a little bit of advice on the route you should take and not take, crucially. Thank you to my loyal Patreons who are scrolling down the screen now, particularly George Foot, Magnanimous Meg and HB, who are very generous patrons. Do subscribe if you enjoy my videos, and I shall see you next time for another one.